Okay, actually, I believe that we're good to go. So, shall we begin? Hello, everyone. My name's Adeline, and this is my co-founder, Anne. Today, we're going to decode some mandate that recently came out. So, it was announced in March in Hong Kong. And this is a mandate, a technical circular to be more exact, that is now in place, actually, because now it's June. So, we would like to decode that for you. And on top of that, there's also something related, which is funding, CITF funding. So we want to discuss and explain what we know about it, and hopefully it could be helpful to you or your organization. So let us begin. First, we should introduce ourselves. So I'm the CEO and co-founder of AAL Innovation. And Anne here, she is my co-founder and also CTO. And both of us architects, and she, on top of that, has a computer science background as well. And we are now doing a couple of different things, which I will explain in the next slide. And all these are our brilliant team members who make things happen for us. Next slide, please. Right. So in a nutshell, in AAL consultancy, what we do is we help to decode a lot of different things, not just this thing today, the mandates and policies. We do a lot of diagnosing. We help with also the governance, change management. We help to identify pilots if it is suitable to the company, because sometimes they would realize what they really need. And this is relevant to the mandate. They would realize what they really need is maybe they want to buy versus build. So it's buy versus build versus learn. Should they learn to do something that they can already use immediately, i.e. Copilot, or should they buy something like a SaaS subscription that is very useful to them, or should they build something on premise if they require something that is of certain level of security or customization? So that is something we help them to identify. And of course, there's also from the investor side, especially in real estate, there is need for investment evaluation and construction tech evaluation in terms of what tools they should use from an anchor buyer. And then now this new need is coming through now where we've been asked to assist with funding applications because, as you can imagine, it's not particularly fun. So we're also now in place to help with that. Next slide, please. Great. So that was consultancy, and it brings also Academy and Creative Studio to light because in the process, we realized there's also need for learning, so hence AI Academy, and then there's also need for AI designs, hence Creative Studio. But we're not going to be focusing on any of these today. We're going to be focusing on mandates. Next slide, please. So why are we positioned to provide this kind of consultancy and service is because we have had our portfolio already helping these, and we have received 100% of satisfaction from clients, thankfully. Next slide, please. And we do plenty of public speaking, and we have deep understanding of both public sector and private sector. Next slide, please. I say specifically in the real estate, architecture, engineering, and construction, but also property marketing as well. Next slide, please. It's the governments, and of course, going abroad to Africa. And we are also touching business and teaching it in business school. Next slide, please. All right. So what you have here, and thank you so much for taking the time to attend today's webinar, because I know tomorrow is public holiday, and instead of going out with friends, you're here with us, or maybe you're listening in while having time with friends. That's also all right. So this is actually the first of our calendar intelligence briefings where we wish to bring value to you from these webinars and helping you to decode what is actually important to know in these sessions. Next slide, please. And now off to Anne. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Adeline, and thanks to everyone here tonight to have a view on what is happening in Hong Kong, from the policy to what kind of support you can get from the government. So we have basically two topics, major topics here today. One is the June mandate, and then the second one is going to be, we want to help you to crack how you can get or how you can apply funding support from the CITF. So let's start with the June mandate first. This starts with a technical circular. So this is the technical circular published in March of this month. This is March the third one. And in the background, we can see at here, as highlighted in the chief executives of the 2025 policy advice, the government is, of course, Hong Kong government is always pushing the wider adoption of AI technology. And in this technical circular, the focus is actually here. Probably I need to change to a thinner, yeah, this one. Okay. Anyway, I will stay with this thick mark. So to echo with the initiatives of the wider adoption of AI technology, Development Bureau, they have tested various AI adoptions in the construction in the AEC industry, and then they highlighted 3 scenarios they believe to be a successful adoption in the first tier for all the industry, for all the stakeholders. So this is the background of why this technical circular push out, and then why they have confidence in the 3 items that we are going to introduce later. So here's the scope. First of all, it's only applied to capital works program. So it basically means you are working with the government themselves, the client, or let's say MTR airport authorities, they are the clients, etc. So for consultancies over 15 million contract, you should be covered in mandate. And then for contractors, work contracts with pretender estimates exceed 30 millions is in this scope. And this will start already the first of this month. So a quick wrap up about what is exactly Capital Works Program. The Capital Works Program is Hong Kong government's primary programs of investing in the construction of public facilities and infrastructure. So it's basically including public work programs and capital subvention programs targeting the infrastructure, as well as schools, universities, hospitals. And then in the policy, they have this pushing out, trying to push the adoption of AI as stimulated in the inventory. Project office are encouraged to continue and proactively identify and deploy other AI-related technologies into capital work projects to enhance the overall performance. So basically, the TC is just a start right now at here, the 3 scenarios. They also encourage the other scenarios adoption of AI as well. And at here, design, tender, and construction stage is basically what they are focusing on. And upkeep the inventory of adoption AI in capital works, given the rapid and continuous development of the AI technology, the inventory is a live document subject to future updates by the Development Bureau as appropriately. So indeed, what we have seen right now is just a start. They only have 3 items in their appendix list right now, but it will grow into maybe 6, maybe 10 in the future. So this is what's happening as a background introduction of the technical circular. For the privacy requirements of whatever AI technologies that you are adopting under this technical circular, they should follow Digital Policy Office's guidelines, IT security policies, core security principles as well. And then also they need to follow the personal data ordinance, privacy ordinance. So no matter what kind of solutions you are looking at, you need to guarantee they fulfill such requirements. So here comes the most hardcore part, illustration about what exactly the 3 items listed in the technical circular. So let's take a look at the column first. Reference number, never mind, only 3 of them. Use cases, the first one is design optimization. The background is basically means what Development Bureau believe this scenario to be very valuable. And then the baseline requirements at here, this is very tricky. The baseline requirements means the requirements for the technology or the vendor that you are looking at, they need to meet such requirements. And then they become like qualified solutions or qualified vendors to serve such purpose. But for no matter the contractor or the consultant who joined the bidding after the 1st of June, what they need to submit to prove to the government is at here. So 2 columns is requirements on 2 different stakeholders. Baseline requirements is the requirement on the vendors, on the technology suppliers, and the outcomes is the requirement consultant, contractors, whoever serving the government's projects, and then they have to adopt the technology right now. So this is the first highlight of how to understand the appendix of the technical circular. So let's go back to the item itself. AI number 1, the first item is about design optimization, but it's very tricky because it's not general design optimization like we can understand from various conference or webinars. It's very niche. It's only focused on foundation and earth retaining structure. And also at here, there is a tricky point as well. It is not forced to be AI driven or AI enhanced. RPA, robotic process automation, is also accepted. This basically means some solutions that they have been produced before the generative AI era also applicable to these scenarios. Take a quick look at the baseline requirements, incorporate prevailing design codes, Hong Kong design code, of course, and standards applicable to the corresponding design principles. Employ generative design and or parametric algorithms to produce and or evaluate design optimization. Either it produce or only evaluate also can sit into this item. Identify non-compliance in design elements with explanation. Enable communication across different design softwares and platforms. Support open data exchange format (AFC) for BIM to integrate with BIM platforms. Facilitate automated documentations and reporting in design-related deliverables. We have already seen one very successful application in this item is basically incubated by Housing Authority internally. They have their own RPA and also AI enhanced system to solve the foundation and earth retaining structure for exactly what's happening here. And the outcomes is basically what the consultant and contractor need to submit to the client. The client basically means the government to prove that they are doing a good job by using the tool. But the outcome is relative flexible comparing to the baseline requirement here. In the outcome, you are only required to submit a design optimization report should be prepared to demonstrate how the design was enhanced by AI or automation, including the time saving, the enhanced utilization rate after adopting AI or automation in the design cycle. So the report should be submitted as a deliverables under a consultancy agreement. This basically means as long as you have approved that you have used such AI, and then you can demonstrate how well performance or even how bad performance the AI tool is, what is your understanding of how to leverage AI in the system of in the whole process of design optimization for the foundation earth retaining structure, you are good to go. So this is the AI item 1. Comparing to what is required in the baseline requirements at here and what is required in the outcome for consultancy and contractors, we have already observed two attitudes in the market right now. A group of people, they believe AI is, of course, the prevailing trending in Hong Kong right now, pushed by the government. So they would like to seize the opportunity to develop a very useful and valuable and indeed AI-driven system to facilitate their employees, to facilitate their organization in any cost saving or in any time saving or in any further investment way to push it to the most. This is the first attitude that exists on the market already. And there is also a second attitude. According to the flexible outcome requirements at here, they would prefer to consider this technical circular as some additional requirements when they submit the bidding. So they only need to do the minimum effort to just tick the box. So these are two different attitudes, and we are going to introduce what could be the difference towards the two different attitudes. Second item. First of all, second item is the lowest hanging fruit of the whole industry. Checking of tender documents. This is the comfort zone of large language model, the comfort zone of generative AI. The background is, of course, they find out actually submitting the bidding, preparing the bidding documents, and then going through the bidding review, etc. is going to take a lot of time, working hours, etc. from the whole industry. So the government would like to have something to help this process. The baseline requirements, you need a RAG knowledge base or equivalent frameworks. And then beyond this RAG knowledge base, it needs to be automatically or it manually can be updated once there is new requirements or new technical circular published by DEVB. They also mentioned what could be the focus on this library here, a memo, circular standard terms, and then conditions, etc. Basically, what's the contractor they are relying on every day in their library. And then firstly, you have a knowledge base, and then you have the capability to update the knowledge base when the new things come out. And thirdly is verify users' input and identify omission or non-standard provision with links to the source content for users' verifications. In simple, when you submit a draft of your bidding document, the system should be able to tell you where is miscompliance in your documents comparing to what is the HA from DB requires. So this is the main function of the whole thing. Enable importing and exporting functions in workable format, Word documents. This is like some supplement features, not that's necessary to keep into consideration because almost all the vendors, almost all solutions, they can take care of this. So what is the requirements for the consultants and contractors to submit to prove that they are using this item? A summary should be prepared along with the completed tender documents to demonstrate how the checking assistance involved. The completed documents is checked against the knowledge library and complied with standard terms and conditions. The summary should be submitted for client checking. So submit for your government client checking to see, okay, you do a very good job by leveraging the AI assistant to facilitate your tender preparation period. So this is what's happening here for the second item. And then here comes the third item. Third item is after you get into the project, after you get the job, you start to work with the government and then you start to leveraging their WSS. When you are using the WSS, there will be tons of data, information, files flying around the WSS. So basically, government is expecting you can leveraging an AI assistant to help you digest what's happening on the WSS. So link to the DSS database as a foundation, and then allow advanced semantic and natural language query to search relevant information from database by a knowledge base. So in simple, this means you can have a chatbot to help you answer questions after the chatbot search among the files on the DSS. And then the chatbot should give you a very concise and presentable summary. This is the so comfort zone for large language model. They can do this very well. So the tech is very ready for these two parts, and even for the first one. So they can also leveraging the agent frameworks to help you use specific templates, either the government template or your company's template or a contractor template to generate reports with information retrieval from the library from here into a report in workable format and provide a user interface accessible across desktop and mobile platform with a clear display of search results and sources. And also enforce a role-based access right. This is admin control. You can enter as admin control. So basically means your chatbot shouldn't give the information of project A to a team member of project B. So this is the baseline requirements for the third item. And the outcome, again, is only a summary shall be prepared to demonstrate how the retrieval and report assistant involved in your daily operation and what kind of report or analysis results are generated, partly generated with the help of this AI assistant. So in short, the outcome is very easy to meet, but the baseline requirements, the second and the third items, they are not difficult. Maybe the challenging part is how to link to the database of DSS could be a little bit challenging. But second item and third item, they are quite tech mature in all sense. But it is just the first item. It's very niche. So relying on, we need to find out who is exactly, except Housing Authority internal solution, is providing such design optimization for foundation and earth retaining structure. So this is the overall interpretation of the joint mandate. If you have questions, probably we can catch up later in the Q&A session. Okay, second topic, introduction to the CITF. The CITF funding in Hong Kong, supported by CSC. So what is CITF? I believe if you actually work in Hong Kong, you must have known this for many years because the CITF, the Construction, Innovation and Technology Fund, starts 8 years ago. And it has always been operated by CSC. CSC is very core institutions in Hong Kong, like promoting a lot of technologies and pushing the whole industries moving forward with construction technology. So In this year, the government proposed a further 1 billion injection to CITF, really focused on construction robotics, artificial intelligence, and digital construction technologies. So robotics and AI are the two keywords this year being enhanced by CITF. The fund aims to enhance overall industrial performance through two key objects: technology adoption and manpower development. I'm going to explain further of these two categories later. According to all dialogue with CIC or any kind of webinars that we have attended, private conversation with responsible person, we find out right now for CITF is more than welcome to apply. There is not enough people or stakeholders applying for CITF. But at the same time, that means first of all, they very welcome you to submit your form, apply for the CITF, because this would be a way to help you pushing forward the AI adoption or technology adoption in industry. And secondly, in comparison to their welcomeness of submission, this is still public money. CITF is still public money. So if you have ever experienced any funding applications in Hong Kong recent years, you will know how difficult or how tedious the whole application process could be, and what kind of restrictions they could apply to very, very detailed parts during application. So the application is welcome, but it may need your further attention, need your further care of the whole process. And also you need to pay attention to all the documents about CITF to find maybe there's just a one line to state that your scenario is not applicable for CITF. So this is the situation of CITF. And then the two categories, technology adoption and manpower development. Technology adoption is basically helping construction firms and also consultants procure, rent, and apply advanced technologies to lead productivities, quality, safety, and sustainability. It covers a lot of different chapters. We are going to see 4 different chapters later. And then it's up to 10 million per company for all the categories added together. And what we are focusing on today is the 2.5 million at here, ring-fenced for AI and robotics. And the match volume is 70 to 80% for your payment to the service providers, for your payment for the training providers, for your payment for employees' AI tool subscription. So this is a very important number to remember. This basically means highly possible you will have 80% of your employees, either they're using the tools or the trainings, etc. However, we are going to have more details to explain about whether you can really meet the 80% later. And then the manpower development, it funds training, courses, conferences, and overseas visits to build the industry capability in applying innovative technology. Do not be tricky about the training mentioned here. Manpower development basically do not apply to enterprise. It's focused on organizations or institutions or schools, universities as their targeting group. So at here, this 2.5 million also including enterprise trainings. The trainings mentioned at here basically means if you are an institution, you are trying to organize a training for the whole industry. That is the scenario. But for majority of the enterprise, your enterprise training is actually not sit in this part. So you could just ignore this for today. We will focus on the technology adoption later. So at here, you can see overall you will have 10 million as a cap per company ceiling. And it will have 6 million focused on 4S, robotics, AI. AI shows up here again. But I have to say it has been quite vague. What is the difference between AI here and here? So I would suggest a lot of the 6 million at here. Originally, the whole CITF funding is quite supporting for us and BRM adoption and training. We could try to get the 2.5 million solely for robotics and AI in this year, because I believe this part will be more focused, more easier for you to have a successful application. And here comes the 4 categories: ACT, MIC, prefab steel bars, for contractors, consultants and contractors both, but this is a traditional supporting. And what we are focusing today is T1, ACT. And among T1, actually, we are focusing on here solely for AI and robotics, 2.5 million. But this table is basically the most illustrative diagram for you to understand how many categories there is in the CITF and how many subcategories in each items. You can see at here is quite need some time for you, maybe for your admin colleagues to figure out what exactly CITF can support you. So let's focus only on AI today. For AI solutions is not supported by CITF until the 1st of May of this year. So that basically means 2 months ago, they start to support AI solutions and AI adoption. The following costs will be supported: the product cost, development cost of AI solutions for applicants' own use, enterprise internal AI solution development. It could be you have your internal system, you develop it. It's basically you need to submit a quotation from a vendor or a supplier to get this part. And then an ancillary cost to facilitate AI adoption is to upskill or upgrade your IT infrastructure upgrade, and AI training cost. So this is within the 2.5 million. And let's see how tricky they capping each small part. So this is not relevant. This is robotics. This be covered on the, okay, no worries. Here is 0.3 million per projects, 0.3 million per projects of AI solution development for applicants' own use. So if you divide with, let's say, 70%, so that basically means you are paying 0.4 million for a solution, something like that. Would be leveraging the CITF for that single development the most. And then at here, 0.5 per applicants for AI adoption ancillary cost, your upgrading of the IT infrastructure. I'm not sure how they evaluate per applicants for AI adoption in this IT infrastructure upgrade, but intuitionally, I feel that means one company, they will only get 0.5 million for upgrading their IT infrastructure. And then 5K per person cultivated for AI training. I have to say, this is the most cost efficient for enterprise to carry out your AI transformation organizationally or enterprise-wide, because upskilling your employees will always be a very, very good investment. And 5K is actually already a lot in helping them learning several different courses. So let's do a quick calculation. If we have the 2.5 million at here, it basically means you can carry out 5 POC, let's say, and then you can still have 1 million to support 200 employees upskill. And then we see the ceiling cap echo to these three, right? There is no specific mention of the ceiling cap for the product cost. So I assume there is no ceiling then. The second formula could be you have 2.5 million. You can carry out 4 POC, and then you can have 100 employees, basically engineers, architects, construction managers, project managers, to have very luxury AI subscription. If you only subscribe Copilot for employees, this number will be 1,000 employees with AI subscription. But if you are subscribing for Copilot together with the other AEC specific tools, this basically means you can support the core team of 100 employees in this case. It's still quite a good number. Eligibility, who could apply for CITF? First of all, contractor who is paying CIC, who is registered under CIC, I believe. Specialist or trade contractors and subcons also hold a valid CIC registration at the time of application. And then at here, consultants who on the list maintained by governments or professional bodies. For example, you are listed in HKA, HKIS, then you are eligible to apply for CITF. And also other industry players, but I would say they are not very specific targets, so the application successful rate would be relatively low. How to apply CITF? So application procedures, you first need to register an account on CITF first, and then there are tons of documents you need to read through, or you may seek our help to digesting all those documents. You complete the submission form as well as submitting the supplement documents required by the categories that you are applying for. For example, you are applying for the training category, AI training under ACT. You need to submit the curriculum. If you are applying for the development of AI solutions for your enterprise, you need to submit the quotation from the service providers, etc. And CIC will vet your applications. They will give you a notice within 60 calendar days for majority of the applications. But they also have something called pre-approved list items. You could check CIC website about their pre-approved list items. It will only require 30 days to accept your application, and the renewal rate also a little bit higher than you submit applications for not yet pre-approved services. And then after that, you need also to, this is public money. To get all the public money, there will always be milestones and there will always be files. You need to prove that you have used the money wisely and diligently, and the result is very good. So this is basically some admin work afterward. Some notice to pay attention to. You will hear this from nowhere. This is really after redigesting the CITF documents. The applicants shall submit the application before any financial commitment. This is basically means if you already sign agreements with any AI solution providers, you are not eligible to submit the application for now. To facilitate project planning and implementation, they're still encouraging you to carry out their AI adoption very quickly. The applicants can commit either development of the solutions or the trainings after you submit the application and before CIC issue notifications of approval. But you will bear the risk of not being accepted, of your application being rejected. So this is two important notice. And the third one, even though you got approved for your application, it doesn't mean you will get the amount of money you applied for. This is on a reimbursement basis. Of course, for public money, it's always go for this. And for technology adoption, reimbursements will generally be made in two phases. The first phase is to the most 80% of the approved amount of the funding to you, paid upon provision of the documents, proof, etc. And then the 20% will be paid 12 months after you complete, or 12 months after probably a key milestone. Maybe you accept the notice from CITF. So this is very important notice you need to keep in mind so that you can plan your either a budget, but at the same time timelines, how to deliver a AI transformation in pace, leveraging all the 60 calendar days, etc., or minimizing the risks you don't kickstart unless you get the approval of CIC. This is all relying on your organization's decisions right now, but these are very key information for you to keep in mind. So here is the end of the CITF introduction. So now I'm going to pass the time to Adeline to carry out some small suggestions from AAL.
Right, thank you so much, Anne. I think before we go to section 3, do you mind to just quickly back to 01? Just want to have like a quick recap because there are some new joiners just now who may not know what happened previously. And maybe if we can just quickly flip back to, actually, if you can just show all the slides and then we will show, if you zoom out.
Okay, let me try. Let's go back to, are you still able to see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so quickly recap of what we have gone through, the two main topics. First one is student mandate. We explained the background why this technical circular have been pushed out and what kind of confidence Development Bureau is holding in hand so that they push out the scenarios they mentioned in this TC. And this only apply to capital work programs. What is capital work programs? As long as you are the related stakeholder to know this very well, more well than us. And then policies, why this is just a start. And then after the kickstart of mandating the AI adoptions in the 3 scenarios, the list of mandatory scenario is going to grow in the future. And then also the privacy requirements on whatever solutions you are looking at. The 3 items, the first one is design optimization for foundation and earth retaining. We also introduced how actually strictly they require for the solution itself and how flexible they require for the people who use solutions but need to submit some proof during their tender or after the tender period of time or during the project delivery. The second item is the lowest hanging fruits checking of tender documents, totally comfort zone for generative AI and the large language model. Same as the third item, digesting information from DWSS. The only challenging part is how to link to the database of DWSS. And then a quick recap of CITF introduction is basically we are helping you to crack whether you applied to apply for CITF and what kind of activities you could consider being covered by CITF, supported by the government funding. So overall, CITF right now, they do not have enough people to apply for it, so they're more than welcome for everyone to submit application for. On the other hand, they are public money, so they have very strict requirements and restrictions on granting the money. So this is the situation. And then secondly, two categories, but I suggest all the enterprise, you could ignore the manpower development. You just focus on technology adoption. It's basically the 2.5 million a year solely pushed out only in this year for robotics and AI. And then this 2.5 million, how to use it, we would suggest you could consider, first of all, the cap for a single AI solution development is 0.3 million. And then the IT infrastructure upgrade, we understand per company would be 0.5 million. And for employee, enterprise training for employees basically is a ceiling of 5K. It's quite already a lot for employees to join the AI training. They can learn 3 to 4 courses. 2.5 million, you could consider 5 POC or 4 POC, upskill your employees, the whole company is 200 people, or you pay very luxury subscription, AI subscription tool for employees. This could be a full package, or you just pay the most basic like Copilot Studio or Copilot enterprise license for 1,000 employees. But I have to say, the product cost at here is subject to change. Right now, CIC agrees that Copilot could be claimed under the 2.5 million, but in the future, it's highly possible they may change their mindset. They may one day suddenly roll out a requirement to say the tool must be AEC specific, or the service provider of that tool must be only focusing on us, on construction industry. It's also possible. So this is the understanding of how to spend money, and then who can apply for contractors, subcons, consultants. As long as you one of the list at here, you should be able to apply for the CITF. And then here is the process of applications. Ideally, in 60 calendar days, you will know whether you have successfully get money or not. And then notice that I have helped everyone digest already. So maybe shall we move on to what small tips that you could take away from AAL?
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you also for recapping that. It's very, very detailed. And I think our whole team worked together to put together this presentation, and in the hope that some information could be valuable to you. All right, so let's go next. So what is next? What can be done? First of all, you may have a lot of questions you may not want to ask later in the Q&A, but of course, feel free to ask in the Q&A later. But let's say you have something that is specific to your company, you really want to ask us. I can send out a link later in this Zoom chat where you can book basically a slot and you can ask us. So you don't know what you don't know. So that's why you need to ask. Perhaps that's how you want to start. Or maybe you already have some idea, like maybe you want to go for the A2, which is the tender related AI usage, or maybe you think you need a bit more leadership level kind of strategy help. Then you can also ask us, what does that mean? If you want help to apply for the CITF and you want to know a bit more about the timeline, like you want to apply tomorrow and you know that in 60 days time you will have it, let's say, and we are also in close discussion, close conversations with the team who is in CIC handling the CITF parts, and we can also aid this process, let's put it that way, aid this process of the application. If you have any questions regarding that and you want to know how that could be, the discovery call would be quite helpful. Next would be specifically on what Anne had discussed. just now, had presented just now in very thoroughly just now. I think we spent around 20 minutes discussing this A2 item. So there are two ways you can go about with it. And this also links back to the funding application. If you want to use Copilot Studio to build your own workflow, that would go under the training funding scope. Or you want to buy, to build your own tender AI, we can also help you to identify what kind of solutions would be best for you if you want to buy or if you want to build. If you want to buy, it could be something that's already in the pre-approved list. Or if you want to build, it could be something, and we can help you to make sure your pilot is going to match with the funding that you apply for. We can also help you. So we've been told that there's a way forward with your application, like how you put up that quotation is an art in itself. What you write in your quotation, what you write in the invoice is going to be very relevant to how you're going to get the funding. So we are extremely nerdy in this, and we are looking into how that could be possible in order to help yourselves to move forward with that. So let us know if this is also something you consider. So next, please. And would you like to briefly talk about this?
Yes. So in the very beginning, do you still remember there are two attitudes from the market? One is I'm going to taking the prevailing trend and I'm going to deep dive into what is the best way for the organization or for the enterprise to do the AI transformation. We want a really, really reliable and robust AI solution. That is the first attitude. And the second one is, since we are doing the public works with the governments, we need to tick the box. We need to submit the summary, but we do not want to really spend a lot of resources on develop the solution. Then here are some examples targeting the two different attitudes. So we can see at here, Copilot Studio, when you are learning Copilot Studio either through us or self-learning, you could manage to develop some team knowledge management system. This is not as robust as you can get from a service providers for enterprise customized solution level, but it's already good to go to help you tick the box. And also one stone for two birds. At the same time, you are upskilling your employee. They can do after ticking the box from the submitting a tender, but also they can help to understand how well AI can facilitate your team in knowledge management, in information transfer, or in history lessons management from the previous projects and etc. So this is the way to just tick box, how Copilot Studio can facilitate in the scenario that's only requiring the minimum effort from the entire company to meet the requirements. And then here is also something in the middle. This is kind of like a small customization solutions only based on Azure. Azure is also Microsoft environment. So we did this before as a fine testing for fire safety code. So at here, you can check and refer back to what's happening in the fire safety code, asking some questions, and it can also apply for asking information about whether this clause in the tender, I write it very well to meet the requirements from PAH. This is the middle level of commitment. And then here is the ultimate level for the first attitude, who is really going to have a robust solution to support their tenders. Majority of the company who would dive into this solution is because they need to submit tenders weekly. Basically, during a year, they are going to have dozens to even hundreds of tenders to submit. So they will rely heavily on such platforms to help them to complete the tender drafting or tender vetting, contractual advice, and etc. So different attitude, there would be different way for you to go with, but both fine. Both is the start for AI transformation for your enterprise, for your team. Okay, so here I pass the mic back to Adeline.
Thanks. So there are many ways to go about with it. I think right now it's really a very golden moment because I don't think there will be another 2026. The kind of opportunities there are for the construction industry, specifically inside Hong Kong, are not always obvious, but we can see there are many. Anyway, let us know if you want to know more specifically for your cases. But because there's high demand on people wanting to know how they should go about with things, so we have been working with those who are spearheading with AI adoption, and they often start with a 1.5 hour strategy workshop. So this is, you can say, it is an education workshop, which also can be part of the funding item. And at the same time, this is consultancy, because before the workshop, you will receive a survey and you can spread it to your team. We will also have a post-workshop report given to you, which actually supports your AI adoption roadmap. And a lot of other things, which is very important, including AI governance knowledge and key takeaways, how to adapt AI in a profitable way. And this is really not about checking any boxes, but about how to move forward as a business, as a team, and how to profit from AI and not worry about losing money in the meantime. And then how can your company apply for funding? Of course, you'd like to know that. And how do you want to buy or build AI solutions? And also, a lot of people ask this, what are the neighbors doing? Like, what are other companies doing? What are our competitors doing? Without giving away key names and information, we will provide very important insights that we've collected in the past 2 to 3 years. Next slide, please. So earlier, I showed a few items which AAL consultancy involves in. And in this 1.5 workshop, we almost cover half. We will touch on almost half of the things that our services provide. So you can have a think about whether or not this aligns with your management team or your leadership level. Next slide, please. Right. And of course, last but not least, it comes to training. So I can see some of the people who have joined this call, they're from real estate, some of them from contractors, some of them from consultancy firms, including architecture firms. So there are a few things that would apply here. So there's the co-pilot agent building workshop, which would also feed into item B here, which is also A2. There's a design of real estate related feasibility workshops, which we have provided for multiple real estate developers here in Hong Kong already, and also applicable to architecture firms. And then there are also leadership training, which is specifically on how to move forward with change management, how to put up an AI policy, etc. So next slide, please. Right, so here are the sample slides we provided for one of our clients, and we have done a very cohesive research for them. And we have put out surveys. I think they have 4 teams across different cities and countries in Asia, and we've covered all of them. So next, please. So this is for leadership next, and that's the risk tier. And also specifically, they have some ideas about data centers. I won't say too much, but we cater for whichever specific need they want. And we have the database and library that they need. Next slide, please. Perfect. Here we are at the Q&A. Very much appreciated for everyone who has been listening to this. I know this is quite heavy. A lot of information on a night right before the public holiday. We have 2 questions already in the chat. Thank you so much for being so proactive. I think perhaps the first one from Stefan would be great to be answered by Anne.
Okay,
and this is
hi, thank you for the valuable information. And are there any other requirements on solution providers for the 3 use cases and the AI mandates besides the requirements you listed? Like, do the solution provider need to be Hong Kong resident companies or pre-approved by CITF or needs new requirements? I think there is no additional requirements, whether you register in Hong Kong or not. And also, it would be best for you to get pre-approved in CITF. That means the client, of course, will be more trustable in that scenario. But if not, it's still fine. They can still claim CITF just in longer, like waiting a longer period of time. And the only thing I would like to mention is the privacy requirements. They have the privacy and IT security requirements follow the guideline from DPO as well as the PDPO, the private data privacy audience in Hong Kong. Then if you can meet both, then you would be fine.
Thanks. And then the next question here. Thank you for sharing. Do you have examples of AI solutions for design optimization for earthwork and foundation? So I think this audience here is asking about A1. Maybe I'll try this and you can supplement. There are, and we have them, and there are different tiers. There's a light tier and then there's a heavy tier. It depends on the project itself, and it also depends on the purpose. Just like what Anne said previously, there are 2 mindsets. One is you just want compliance. You want to check the box. You want to comply to the mandates, which we all should. But then there's also the other mindset where you want to go deeper, you want to dig and dive deep. And that is another kind of commitment. And we are happy to share both further, but probably not in this presentation. So thank you for that. Hope that's helpful. And then next question from Erica. Thanks for sharing for the A2 checking tender document what kind of information that consultants contractors shall consolidate now so to be ready to adopt AI no matter buy or build. Okay, so thank you for paying such good attention to that. I have an answer, but maybe I feel you're better suited to answer this one. Data structure.
What kind of information that the consulting contractors should consolidate now so to be ready to adopt the AI? I will feel the second AI item is actually a light solution. They already mentioned what they would suggest to consider in your knowledge base. It's basically the technical circulars, memos, all published by development bureaus or the other government departments. And then if you collect all those type of files, put in your library, you're already good to go.
Actually, to supplement what Anne just says, I think there better be a library of previous tender documents. And I think they should be filed in the right way, which I think most contractors already have a library as such. But I also know that there are different teams who do different tenderings and they may not be in the same place. As long as there's access to those, I think it is good. If there are also previous supplier information, there should be a folder with that as well. I think if it touches QS, there's a whole other game to play. There's a whole other world there as well. I think to have the files ready of the previous tender documents is a must.
I would think a little bit different because required by the government themselves, actually you only need the bay and all those like building codes, regulations, and then that's it. So basically the regulations or files coming from the government in your library, you can start. But this is the attitude for tick box. But if you really want to have a very comprehensive tender assistant, can understand your company style very well, you will need your previous tenders as a learning base for the AI to understand what is the best way to customize the tender submission documents for your own company.
So yes, true. The baseline is actually you don't need much to start, but
yeah,
if
very
you
baseline.
Want to be if you want to be very serious, then have those historic documents. Great. Any last minute questions? And maybe just while people are thinking about what they may want to ask, I will just maybe send out the link, which is the booking link. If you want 30 minutes of our time to ask about something specific, you can reach us there. I've just sent across in the Zoom chat. And then also, this is only the first in many, many episodes to come of these kind of briefings. So if you find this very helpful, you can also consider checking out the entire calendar later on. Any last comments, Anne? I feel perhaps there may not be other questions, but of course, welcome if there are any last comments.
I would give small hints for Wenji's question because you mentioned you want some examples of AI solutions for design optimization of earthwork and foundations. I would suggest you check 2023 SPEAM Award for Housing Authority. They have their own foundation solution actually customized together with Autodesk. You could try to find out the original award-winning video about their solution.
Okay. By the way, this is only the June mandate. There was also the April mandate and the January mandate. In the January mandate, there was also other things mandated, including the AI chatbot, site safety, LiDAR, and even a mention of NEC. So a lot going on this year, and hopefully you all strap in for this ride. Thank you so much. That's it for tonight.